All right, the Teen Choice Awards may be the very last place you'd expect to get a speech on conservative values, but that is precisely what some folks say Ashton Kutcher gave. We're going to bring you his remarks next, and then you can decide. Insightful, powerful, sound advice. Those words are not typically associated with a Hollywood awards show, especially for teens. But this week, actor Ashton Kutcher making waves by offering young Americans a lesson on hard work and personal responsibility during the Teen Choice Awards. And some are calling the speech conservative. Others disagree. But many folks say it's advice that kids can really use. Take a listen.
I believe that opportunity looks a lot like hard work. When I was 13, I had my first job with my dad carrying shingles up to the roof. And then I got a job washing dishes at a restaurant. And then I got a job in a grocery store deli. And then I got a job in a factory sweeping Cheerio dust off the ground. And I've never had a job in my life that I was better than. I was always just lucky to have a job. And every job I had was a stepping stone to my next job. And I never quit my job until I had my next job. And so opportunities look a lot like work. Everything around us that we call life was made up by people that are no smarter than you. And you can build your own things. You can build your own life that other people can live in. So build a life. Don't live one, build one. Find your opportunities and always be sexy. I love you guys.
Lars Larson is a syndicated radio host with Compass Media Networks. Bernard Whitman is a former Clinton pollster. Gentlemen, good to see you both. Lars, let me start with you. Is that a conservative message or just sound advice that owes no political allegiance?
I have to tell you something. I think God bless Ashton Kutcher for having a Reagan-like message, but having it delivered from a young man who's respected by millions and millions of Americans who are in their 20s, who probably won't listen to old guys like me, but God bless him for saying the right thing. And I know you had to edit that clip for time, but the middle part that was left out, stay sexy. He tells these kids who see an awful lot of media that says you should do some crazy things to be sexy. He says being smart is being sexy and everything else is garbage. And that's a wonderful conservative message. And it's belied, or it belies, a lot of the messaging that we get from the other side of the aisle.
Bernard, what about that? Opportunity looks a lot like hard work. Now, one could argue that that is contrary or anathema to the entitlement mentality that is sometimes championed by liberals and Democrats. What about it?
I completely disagree. I think that Kutcher's speech was a powerful endorsement of personal responsibility, hard work, and the American dream. And the idea that those values are somehow, conservatives have a lock on those values, isn't just absurd. It's actually plain offensive. And with respect to his definition of being sexy being smart, I totally agree. And you know what's not smart is waging a war on science, which conservatives seem obsessed with doing, claiming that we're not responsible for climate change, believing that women can shut down pregnancies after rape, and thinking that gays can be cured of homosexuality.
Bernard.
None of that is smart. None of it is smart.
You know, Lars, let me go to you. We just did a one-hour documentary on food stamp abuse. And, you know, we interviewed people who sat there and said, hey, why should I work when the government pays me not to work? And that food stamp program was largely championed by Democrats. So there is a political aspect to this that runs contrary to Kutcher's words.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, the message you get from the president is you didn't build it. All of your opportunity comes from things that the government or somebody else did, and you're just getting opportunity as a gift from everybody else, and you owe them. The other message you get is you want a phone? You can get an Obama phone, and then you can vote for Obama, as that famous woman in the videotape said. You can be told by Democrats that having somebody else pay for your health care, your food, your phone, your housing, your education is a right, and that you have the right right to demand it because it must be supplied by somebody else. Ashton Kutcher smartly said, I got my opportunity because I went out and I carried shingles up to the roof, a job I also did when I was a kid. It's hard work. His message completely belies the Democrats' policies of saying, you want education? You don't have to work for it. Somebody owes it to you. And they owe you just about everything else in your life. Bernard, you can't answer that. And
Bernard, what about that?
Actually, Ashton Kutcher also channeled Steve Jobs and talked about how people should not live inside of a life created by others. That is exactly what the definition of being a progressive actually is, to fight for change, to resist the status quo, to fight against inequality. And conservatives often seem so obsessed with actually rolling back the clock, not even living in the present, but going back to live in the past, that they fail to realize that the future is actually ahead of us,
Bernard,
and defined by what's ahead of us, not by what lies behind us. It's absolutely the truth. It was a great progressive message.
Bernard, Republicans talk early and often about free markets, and hard work and perseverance and good ideas equals success. So you could hardly tag Republicans with a different message.
Well, actually, Republicans typically want to preserve the status quo or roll that status quo back. That's not progress. That's not change. That's not being smart.
Absolutely not true.
Lars?
Where do we roll what we say is you have equality of opportunity, but not equality of results. What Democrats want to do, mostly through government policies, is preserve equality of results. Well, the fact is equal opportunity does not equal equal results. There are plenty of young performers out there who'd like to be Ashton Kutcher today. They're not as good as him, so he gets the millions and they don't.
Bernard, when Democrats pretty much make food stamps unlimited, and when they remove the work requirement, as President Obama did, on welfare, doesn't that belie the message being delivered here to these teenagers by this famous actor?
The people on food stamps, you know who those are? Those are mothers, single mothers with a lot of kids.
Not all of them.
And they use those stamps to eat, to feed their children. And actually,
hey, by the way, Bernard, they decided to have those
millions of our neighbors actually use those food stamps to get by in the last few years. And the fact that a few of them on the margins cheat, just like a few rich people cheat on taxes, does not mean the program is wrong. I mean, that is just a mean-spirited and ill-advised attack.
Got to leave it at that.
On
Lars Larson, Bernard Whitman, gentlemen, good to see you both. Good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.